Da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum. What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today we're excited to check out Santa's Bag from Griggling Games. This is for 2 to 8 players, ages 7 plus. It'll take about 15 minutes to play. And this is a children/family game in which you are going to be playing as an elf, making toys for girls and boys, well, as one of Santa's little elves. You're going to be collecting goods and then trading those goods and trying to gain the most points in the end. Does the game succeed at being fun, though? Let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alright then, we're going to take a look. What should you get inside of Santa's Bag? First and foremost, we have our handy dandy rule sheet. It's about 1 page, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. It's a very, very well-done rule booklet. It's a simple game. It'll have you up and running in no time at all. So big thumbs up on that. So in Santa's Bag, you are going to be trying to make toys for different girls and different boys, and those are going to help you score points. Along the way, you'll be trading, acquiring cards, doing all sorts of things like that. I'll show you how it's played, and you should be able to pick it up lickety-split. So, we're going to go to components, then we'll get into the gameplay. First and foremost, you're going to have this handy-dandy little sheet that is what is literally it's just paper that is half advertising, but more importantly, it's going to show you all the different cards that you're going to have in the game, at least in this deck over here of materials. So you will know that there are 3 glass and 12 fabric, so glass is much more valuable than fabric, so you probably don't want to do a straight trade, you probably want to manipulate the trade. Unnecessary, but very, very useful. Speaking of unnecessary, but very nice, we have our little score tracker here. This is going to symbolize when the game is going to end, and it's just going to keep track. You're going to add 1 to this every time you make a toy, every time anyone makes a toy. So 20 is when you're going to end a long game, and 10 is when you're going to end a short game. Very, very nice and sturdy. Big thumbs up on that. Next, you're going to get cards, and more cards. And there's 3 kinds of cards you're going to get. The first kind of cards are going to be the kids. And these are going to be kids who you're going to be making toys for. They're going to be numbers 1 through 3. They each have their own unique artwork and their own unique picture. And there's nothing really that different about them aside from how they look. The 1s will generally look a little bit more naughty because they're worth less points. Let's see if we can find a 1. I like the artwork on the 1s a lot. They just look like bad kids. Next, you're going to have the toys. You're going to be trying to make these toys for those kids. So, for instance, Jacob wants a stuffed bear, which is going to need 2 fluffs and a fabric. But if you can do that, you will score both cards, and you will collect 5 points. After that, you will replenish, and then you will continue going on after you've notched 1 on here. So when you first start the game, you are going to get 4 of these cards over here, which are going to be your supplies. So we're going to start off with a clay, a fabric, a paint, and a string. So we have a pretty diverse thing here. So when you first start the turn, what are you going to do? You're going to have 3 steps you can do. The first step is you're going to be able to trade parts. And how trading works is you say, all right, I really would like, say, let's see, what could I use? I can already make a piggy bank, so that's very useful. And I can already make a fancy tea set, so what else? Let's just say I want metal. So say I would like some metal, and I'm willing to trade a fabric or a string for it, and it's pretty straightforward trade. You can say, all right, then you would trade. Now you also have the option to trade with the deck, which is where you're going to draw a card from this deck, and then discard one of your cards. So, I got the spring, and so I'll just discard this string, because I don't really use it. So I traded a widget for a string. Next, you have the option to make a toy, and on your turn, you can only make 1 toy. So we started off with a really good deal. We have paint, we have clay, which means we can make our choice of toys. Obviously, we can make Kai's piggy bank, or we can make Sophia's fancy tea set, and it's a no-brainer. We want to make the fancy tea set because it's going to be worth 6 points, so we would collect those 6 points. We would discard our clay and our paint, and then we would replenish that, and that would be the end of step number 2. So now we have Winona who wants her superhero costume. Last but not least, you are going to draw an additional card, and your turn is up. Now, there's one other thing that I forgot to mention, which is that if you have 2 of a given material, so let's just say we had 2 fabrics, that kind of acts as a wild card, and you can use that as 1 of anything else. So you're always going to be able to make things within a turn or 2, which is very, very nice. Anywho, you're going to continue until the game is over, at which point you're going to tally up your kids and your toys, and whoever has the most points is going to be the winner of Santa's Bag, and that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Dokey, Santa's Bag from Griggling Games. What are my pedal thoughts? Let's go to the pros, let's go to the cons. First on the cons side, this is not going to be one of those games, one of those family weight games that you can also bust out at Game Night. This is purely for children/family weight gamers, in my opinion. Also, with the higher player count, it does tend to slow down a bit, which is especially bothersome when you're playing with much younger kids, because it says ages 7+. I say poppycock. I bust this out in my classroom. I played it with 4-year-olds. They had a blast with it, and I had 3-year-olds begging to play. They didn't quite wrap their brains around a lot of things, but they still understood what was going on. Next, there's not really much strategy in this game. It's a very simple, straightforward game, which is going to be a turnoff to some people. And last but not least, religious, blah, 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 blah. Some people are not going to like the fact that Santa's on the cover and it's called Santa's Bag and all that sort of stuff. Moving on to the pros, though, Santa's Bag is a fantastic family/children's game. It has a lot of good things going for it. The artwork, I really enjoy the artwork. It's got the old-timey artwork with like the dollies and the trains and that sort of thing. Also components, very nice components. The box is perfectly servable. Everything about this physically is very well done. The trading aspect is a lot of fun as well. The kids really enjoy that. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that we play with a different variant in our class with a much more free-form negotiation. The one they have in there is a 1-to-1, but we like 2-to-1. We do 3-way trades that are mutually beneficial, and that also helps to keep all the children involved. Even when it's not their turn, they're eagle-eyes because most of the time children will kind of focus in on one particular thing they want. So it's all like, I need that medal, I need that medal, I need that medal. So even if they're not involved in the trade, they might be able to, oh, well, you have a medal, so maybe we can do this and get a 3-way trade going. And they like that an awful lot. It gets them talking, it gets them interacting. And as a teacher, that's always a good thing. One more reason why I didn't like the multiplayer so much, I didn't like the higher player count so much when I mentioned on the cons, was also because children tend to have one-track mind, where they're completely focused. I want to make this. And then they get a little bit discouraged when someone else will make that. Maybe they've been trading a bunch of stuff in order to get that. But either way, I'm rambling a little bit. Overall, Santa's Bag is a fantastic children/family weight game. Is it one of those games, though, that you're going to be able to bust out in other situations? No. So it has a very limited scope, but for what it is, it's a really great game. So that's Santa's Bag from Griggling Games, one that I definitely could recommend if you're looking for this sort of thing. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below and in the comments below. Let me know what was the best Christmas present you ever got. I think the best Christmas present I ever got was when I was younger, and I got a Game Boy Advance. And it was wrapped in a John Elway jersey. Like, it was on the outside, it was a John Elway jersey, and I was like, oh my god, a John Elway jersey, I'm freaking out! And then I opened the John Elway jersey and put it on, and I was like, oh my god, a Game Boy Advance! And I freaked out even more. It was awesome! What was your best Christmas present ever? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.